Have you ever met someone who falls in love every few months, jumps from one relationship to another without taking a breath, and seems completely lost when they're single? Maybe that person is you. If being alone feels like suffocation, if you'd rather be in a toxic relationship than no relationship at all, you might be dealing with something psychologists call love addiction. And no, this isn't about being romantic or passionate. This is about using love the same way someone uses alcohol or drugs to escape, to numb pain, to feel whole. Let's dive deep into the psychology behind this, because understanding it might just change your life. Love addiction isn't recognized as an official disorder in the diagnostic manuals yet, but therapists and psychologists see it every single day. It's real, it's destructive, and it ruins lives just like any other addiction. At its core, love addiction is about using romantic relationships and the feelings they create as a way to avoid dealing with inner emptiness, childhood wounds, or deep-seated fears. The love addict doesn't fall in love with a person. They fall in love with the feeling, the rush, the distraction. It's not about connection, it's about escape. Let's talk about what this actually looks like. A love addict often moves extremely fast in relationships. Within days or weeks, they're talking about soulmates, forever, and destiny. They idolize their partner, put them on a pedestal, and ignore every single red flag. Why? Because the fantasy feels better than reality. The relationship becomes their entire identity. They lose themselves completely. Friends, hobbies, goals, everything disappears. And when the relationship inevitably crashes, because no human can live up to that impossible fantasy, the love addict is devastated. But here's the twisted part. They don't take time to heal. They immediately search for the next person to fill that void. It's a cycle, and it never stops until they face what's really going on inside. So what causes this? Most love addicts have experienced some form of childhood trauma or neglect. Maybe their parents were emotionally unavailable. Maybe they grew up feeling unseen, unheard, or unloved. As children, they learned that their worth was tied to someone else's approval. They learned that love is conditional, that they have to perform or chase or sacrifice to be worthy of it. That wound never healed, it just grew. And now as adults, they recreate that same dynamic over and over again. They choose partners who are unavailable, emotionally distant, or even abusive, because that's what feels familiar. It's not that they want pain, it's that pain feels like home. There's also a neurological component here that's fascinating. When someone falls in love, the brain releases a flood of dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. It's the same chemical cocktail that drugs trigger. You feel euphoric, energized, obsessed. For a love addict, that high becomes the goal. They're not seeking a healthy partnership. They're chasing that rush. And just like with substances, they build tolerance. The high doesn't last, so they need more intensity, more drama, more chaos to feel anything at all. This is why love addicts often end up in relationships filled with fights, breakups, and makeups. The chaos keeps the dopamine flowing. Stability feels boring because it doesn't feed the addiction. Another hallmark of love addiction is the fear of abandonment. This fear is so intense that the love addict will do absolutely anything to keep their partner, even if it means betraying themselves. They tolerate disrespect, abuse, infidelity, anything, as long as they're not alone. They convince themselves that being treated poorly is better than being alone. But deep down, they're terrified that if someone really knew them, the real them, they'd leave. So they wear masks. They become whoever they think their partner wants them to be. And in the process, they lose themselves entirely. Here's the hardest truth. Love addicts don't actually want real intimacy. Real intimacy requires vulnerability, honesty, and the ability to sit with discomfort. It requires showing up as your authentic self and trusting that you're enough. But love addicts don't believe they're enough, so they settle for intensity instead of intimacy. They confuse obsession with love, drama with passion, and codependency with commitment. They're stuck in a pattern that feels like love but is actually just pain wrapped in fantasy. Breaking free from love addiction isn't easy, but it's absolutely possible. It starts with awareness, recognizing the pattern, and admitting that this isn't working. Then comes the hardest part. Learning to be alone. For a love addict, being single feels like torture, but it's in that space that real healing happens. Therapy, especially trauma-focused therapy, is crucial. You have to go back and heal those childhood wounds, challenge those core beliefs about worthiness, and learn what healthy love actually looks like. You have to stop running and start facing yourself. Recovery also means building a life that isn't centered around romance, rediscovering who you are outside of relationships, finding purpose, passion, and fulfillment that doesn't depend on another person. It means learning that you are whole on your own, that love is meant to enhance your life, not complete it. And it means understanding that real love isn't a high. It's steady, it's safe, it's built on mutual respect and genuine connection, not fantasy and fear. If this resonates with you, know that you're not broken. You're human. You're carrying wounds that were never your fault. But healing is your responsibility, and it's the most important work you'll ever do. Drop a comment below if this opened your eyes to something you've been avoiding. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the first step toward healing is just knowing you're not alone. Let's keep this conversation going.